Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, the swamp strikes back. So, yesterday, shocking decision from a Clinton-appointed judge, a Bill Clinton-appointed judge, about James Comey and Letitia James. So, according to federal district judge Cameron McGowan Curry, Cameron Curry, she was appointed by Clinton. She's clearly a Democrat hack. There's no question. She has come out and ruled against the Department of Justice, and in particular against interim U.S. Attorney Halligan. Halligan now was appointed by Pam Bondi to oversee the prosecution, Lindsay Halligan, of both James Comey and Letitia James. Well, in a stunning blow, this judge, this hack, ruled that the indictments against both Comey and James must be and have been dismissed, but this is the key, without prejudice. Now, that's legalese for they have the right to re-indict Comey and Letitia James or to appeal her decision. And Pam Bondi yesterday, within seconds, in fact, minutes of the decision, Pam Bondi yesterday said, we are going to appeal right away. We are not going to take this lying down. We will not accept this. Now, the point that I want to stress is that the media yesterday, they were doing freaking cartwheels. I've never seen anything like this. They were practically jumping up and down in their chairs on live television. Yeah, this is a defeat for Trump. Yeah. You know, almost like it's a football game and they're spiking the football. This was no defeat for Trump. This was no defeat for Pam Bondi. And this was no defeat for the Department of Justice. And I'll tell you why. Because the hack judge ruled not on the merits of the case. She didn't say that Comey was innocent or that Letitia James was innocent. She didn't say, as Comey claimed, that this was somehow vindictive prosecution or that he didn't lie under oath, because he clearly did lie under oath, or that Letitia James did not commit mortgage fraud, because she clearly did commit mortgage fraud. So what is stunning is that the media are openly cheering and celebrating the dismissal of two indictments of two people that clearly are crooks, that clearly are criminals. I mean, there's no question. These are open and shut cases. And yet, none of this was based on the merits. It was literally on a technicality. And the technicality is, and I don't want to bore you with all the details, but in essence, according to this hack judge, Lindsay Halligan was inappropriately appointed by Pam Bondi to be the interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, where these two cases were being tried. And so the judge's argument is, if she was inappropriately appointed, i.e., then the indictments that flowed from it are also ipso facto inappropriate or invalid. And so that's why she's dismissing the case, or both cases. That's it. Literally, that's it. So it's all about how Lindsay Halligan was appointed to be interim U.S. attorney, and was this a valid or an invalid appointment? That's it. Now, if you want my honest opinion, I think it's very clear that Lindsay Halligan clearly was appropriately appointed. There's no question. Okay? This is a hack judge. But the fact of the matter is that on the merits of the case, I don't know what James Comey is celebrating about. Now, My advice to President Trump is it is time for him to go to Senate Republicans, because the only reason why we're even at this point is because Trump is unable to get the Senate to confirm many of his U.S. attorneys. In fact, many of you, and rightly so, constantly ask the Kuhner man, Jeff, why aren't they putting more people in jail? Why isn't the Trump administration going after more of these deep state criminals? And one of the major reasons is because they are short of U.S. attorneys. Now, at a bare minimum, they are short of 25 U.S. attorneys. Some people believe it's closer to 40 or 50. So whether it's 50 U.S. attorneys, which is a lot, I mean, that's a lot, or 25, which is also a lot. The point is, there's a massive shortage. And so that's why they don't have literally the manpower to go after a lot of these deep state criminals and Democrat criminals that need to go to jail. What Trump needs to do is tell the Senate to get off its rear end and start confirming his picks to be U.S. attorneys in different districts across the country. They have yet to vote on a full U.S. attorney, permanent U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. That's the reason why he's got to keep going with these interim appointments like Lindsey Halligan. Now, it doesn't matter, because in the end, I'm telling you, Comey is going to get his. He's going to get his because he's guilty of sin. And so now he's doing a victory lap. But I want you to notice something. Comey keeps saying, and his defenders, they keep saying in the media over and over again, I just want my day in court. I want to clear my name. These are lies. These are slanders. But you keep avoiding trying to go to court. In fact, it was Comey who came up with the defense, or his lawyers. Well, go after the appointment of Lindsey Halligan. In other words, let's stop this case on a technicality. Because if this goes to court and the grand jury hears how James Comey, under oath, lied and lied and lied about the Russia collusion hoax and clearly obstructed Congress in their investigation, he's going to go to jail. If a grand jury looks at the evidence of Letitia James and how she clearly committed massive mortgage fraud, I mean, there's no question, she's going to jail. So their goal is to make sure that they never see these cases go to a court in front of a grand jury. Because if they do, they're in trouble. Now, let me just say one other thing. This is not a coincidence. How many times now have we seen these deep state criminals, these Democrat operatives, caught red-handed, and they always seem to get a favorable judge? How is that possible? Every time. Every single time. It's either a Clinton-appointed hack, or a Biden-appointed hack, or an Obama-appointed hack. I mean, this is incredible. Boy, these people should go to Las Vegas and play the casinos, because it seems that they always hit the jackpot over and over and over again. As I said on X last night, and I want to repeat it, we are never going to drain the swamp until we dismantle the imperial judiciary. We've got to clean out the judiciary of these Democratic hacks and judges. And because what they do is they keep protecting criminal Democrats. You can't drain that swamp until these judges are finally removed from the bench and thrown off the bench. because these are not judges in the classical sense. This has nothing to do with the rule of law. This has nothing to do with reading the criminal statutes. This has nothing to do with justice. These are Democrat activists, political hacks who are masquerading as judges who put on black robes. That's it. That's what they do. And that's what they did again yesterday. And so the swamp is now protecting the swamp. And the judiciary has now become, the liberal imperial judiciary has now become an extension of the swamp. My friends, President Trump has to get on the phone with Thune, the Republican Senate Majority Leader, and say, I want you to start confirming my picks to be U.S. attorneys. Okay, I want you to listen now to the criminal, James Comey, taking a victory lap after news broke that a Clinton hack, a judge appointed by Bubba, Cameron Curry, well, she dismissed the indictments without prejudice. So that means they can bring him up again. He can be reindicted. But anyway, against both him and Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, he's already acting like he's won and that he's now defeated Donald Trump and the entire Department of Justice. Roll cut one, a mic.
I'm grateful that the court ended the case against me, which was a prosecution based on malevolence and incompetence, and a reflection of what the Department of Justice has become under Donald Trump, which is heartbreaking. But I was also inspired by the example of the career people who refused to be part of this travesty. It cost some of them their jobs, which is painful, but it preserved their integrity, which is beyond price. And I know they will serve again.
I mean, the way this guy is playing to the cameras, to the moonbats, to the media, to the Democrat establishment, it's really sickening. This is a man, I don't think no man has done more to destroy the integrity of the FBI, to destroy the integrity of the Department of Justice. No one did more to weaponize it in a political witch hunt against Donald Trump than this clown, this buffoon. And this guy's acting like he's the victim? By the way, are you going to 86-47? Huh? You going to do your little walk on the beach? Huh? And put some pebbles together like a little child and call for the president to be assassinated and then play stupid? Oh, look what I just found. Oh, look. All of these pebbles in a perfect shape that says kill the president. Oh. You phony, you fraud, you. Okay, listen to him now. And by the way, he had some really high-powered lawyers backing him. I'm talking, who's who in the Washington law community. They're all partisan Democrats. And by the way, they're all stinking rich. I mean, these are some of the wealthiest, most well-connected lawyers you can find on the planet. Now, listen to him basically tell Democrats, wink, wink, get in contact with these big firms. They basically will work for us pro bono, for free. So whatever crimes we commit, don't worry. Hey, we're above the law. Roll cut 1A, Mike.
I was very lucky that some of the best lawyers in America stepped forward to represent me. Yeah. I hope they serve as an example to more and more lawyers, especially at some of the big firms, to participate in protecting our liberty, protecting the rule of law. And my family and friends were always with me, and luckily for me, include some of those great lawyers.
Unbelievable. I swear, unbelievable. This guy, I'm telling you, this guy's unbelievable. Look, this is to me what is chilling, what is sending, I think this is what sends shivers down my spine, is you have a guy like Comey who is guilty, obviously guilty. If you want, I can go over the statements he said to Congress, and it's clearly bald-faced lie after bald-faced lie. He lied under oath. It is perjury. It's black and white textbook perjury. Letitia James, it's blatant mortgage fraud to the point that she put her father down as her husband. Okay? I mean, that's how sick this is. So it's clear they both committed crimes. But what yesterday's ruling, at least temporarily, what it's saying is that the Democratic Party is truly now a communist party. And what I mean by that, it is a totalitarian party where the party members are above the law. That's the essence of a totalitarian system. The party above all else, the party. So it doesn't matter what crimes you commit. You can commit treason. You can commit murder. You can commit, you name the crime. You can commit perjury. You can be caught embezzling money, a la the Bidens. Millions and millions and millions. You could be selling your country down the river. You could be engaged in mortgage fraud. And we have the documents. I mean, it's right there in black and white. Lie after lie on every single application to get favorable interest rates to line your pockets to the tune of tens and tens of thousands of dollars. It just doesn't matter. Because members of the party, in this case, the Democratic Party, well, they're just immune. They're above the law. They're never touched. They're untouchable. And this is what Comey's essentially saying. He's taunting Trump. He's taunting Pam Bondi. He's taunting the DOJ. He's basically saying, you can't touch me. Ha ha. Nah, 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 nah. I've got the biggest lawyers. I've got the best law firms. And we've got the judges in our pocket. Listen now to Comey. Roll, cut. And by the way, if I were him, I'd shut my mouth. When you commit the crimes that this guy's committed, and perjury is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, what they actually indicted him on is like low-hanging fruit. If I were him, I would shut up. But he can't help himself. He's a drama queen. He's a narcissist. He's always got to be at the center of the story. He loves the attention. He can't get enough of it. Roll cut 2, Mike.
This case mattered to me personally, obviously, but it matters most because a message has to be sent that the President of the United States cannot use the Department of Justice to target his political enemies. I don't care what your politics are, you have to see that as fundamentally un-American and a threat to the rule of law that keeps all of us free. I know that Donald Trump will probably come after me again, and my attitude is going to be the same. I'm innocent, I am not afraid, and I believe in an independent federal judiciary, the gift from our founders that protects us from a would-be tyrant.
Okay. Very, very quick. I just want to play one more cut, then I want to go to the phone lines. 617-266-6868. Listen now to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on the dismissal of the indictments against both James Comey and Letitia James. And she's basically telling both of them, pump the brakes on the celebrations. Stop with the victory lap. Nothing is settled. Nothing at all is settled. This was a technical decision by a judge who clearly wanted to keep Comey and Letitia James out of court and out of not being in front of a grand jury because everybody knows they're guilty as sin. Roll cut 5, a mic.
Everybody knows that James Comey lied to Congress. It's as clear as day. And this judge took an unprecedented action to throw these cases out to shield James Comey and Letitia James from accountability based on a technical ruling, and the administration disagrees with that technical ruling. We believe the attorney in this case, Lindsay Halligan, is not only extremely qualified for this position, but she was in fact legally appointed. And I know the Department of Justice will be appealing this in very short order. So maybe James Comey should pump the brakes on his victory lap.
Oh, amen. Amen, sister. So, look, we'll see what's going to happen going forward. Now, let me just say one final thing, and then I want to go to the phones. They indicted Comey, I think, 2 or 3 days before the statute of limitations was going to run. So there's a 5-year statute of limitations on lying to Congress and lying under oath. And they got it in just before the end, just, the buzzer beater, just before the end. Now, many are saying, well, now that the judge has thrown out the case, does this mean now that Comey's going to get off because the statute of limitations will now run? Because it was dismissed without prejudice, and the Department of Justice has announced they're going to appeal immediately, that resets the clock for 6 more months. So that means no. If the DOJ wants to re-indict, they can re-indict. If there's an appeal that overturns this judge's ridiculous ruling, then Comey is still in hot water. So, no, he did. Technically, the statute of limitations has not run out for Comey. And in terms of appealing, well, listen to Pam Bondi. I mean, this was, I think, within minutes of Judge Curry's decision. She came out right away. Here's Pam Bondi saying, we are appealing immediately. Roll cut 6, a mic.
We'll be taking all available legal action, including an immediate appeal, to hold Letitia James and James Comey accountable for their unlawful conduct.
Okay, so let me ask you, the great audience of Kuhner Country, let's unleash the hounds, as they say. Go to the phone lines. What do you make of former FBI Director Comey, his case now being dismissed? New York Attorney General Letitia James, her case being dismissed. Do you think they will get away with their crimes? Comey, perjury, lying under oath, false statements to Congress, obstruction of a congressional proceeding. Letitia James, to me, that blatant, open mortgage fraud. I mean, it's you can't make it more obvious. Will they get away with it? Or do you think in the end there will be justice? And finally, the bigger question. Is the liberal judiciary now part of the deep state, part of the swamp? If we're going to get justice, is it time now to go after these liberal judges and throw them off the bench and remove them from office? I say yes. What say you? 617-266-6868. Eddie in Maine. You're going to kick us off, Eddie? Thanks for holding, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Kuhner man. Eddie, Sebago Lake, Maine. How are we doing?
Very good. How are you, Eddie?
I'm hanging in there. You and I talked about this, 4 or 5 years ago. We were talking about until they find a way that they check all these politicians on both sides, where all these millions and millions of dollars have come from since they've been in office. Things are just going to stay the same. I thought we had a shot when Doge was checking everything out. What happened to that? Did they stop doing that? And both sides of these politicians are just sitting back. All they have to wait is 3 more years, and it's going to be business as usual once President Trump is done, because they're trying to tarnish the vice president because they don't want him in office because he's MAGA first, too. So I don't know. Until we find that way. Look at the state where Omar is in. Billions and billions of dollars being smuggled of tax money going to Somalia. There's over $1 trillion a year of our tax money being stolen from us every year. And what do we do about it? We get up and we go to work and we pay our taxes.
Eddie, you hit the nail right on the head. Not really. I mean, right out of the gate. I mean, seriously. I mean, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but no, it goes right to your point. Look, they have found massive fraud in the food stamp system in Minnesota, SNAP, and it's overwhelmingly in the Somali community. And you're right, we are talking massive amounts of money. And a lot of this, to show you, it's not just that they're stealing the money and lining their pockets, which is disgusting and grotesque. It's illegal. But they're sending the money back to Somalia. And it's funding these Islamist warlords that are going around slaughtering people, by the way, including Christians. Al-Shabaab, which is like the Somali version of Al-Qaeda. A lot of this SNAP fraud in Minnesota, in the Somali community, is going to fund beheadings, mass murder, killings by Al-Shabaab. So without us knowing it, inadvertently, our tax money is being used to fund genocide in Somalia on behalf of Al-Qaeda. You can't make this up. And the judges, these corrupt, crooked, hack judges, shield and protect these Democrats and this fraud and abuse every step of the way. All this judge did yesterday was protect two criminals. You know, when I was growing up, I don't know, call me crazy, call me naive, maybe it's my upbringing, I don't know. But, you know, it used to be that a judge was a person of integrity, someone you looked up to, a pillar of the community. And a judge was there to go after criminals, to expose criminals, to unmask criminals, to uphold the rule of law, to not let criminals get away with their crimes. Now it's the exact opposite. Democrat judges are there to enable and protect and shield corrupt Democrat politicians from ever being held accountable. It's incredible. I'm telling you, it's just incredible. And that's why you always ask yourself, how come these Democrat sleazy politicians have this arrogant smirk on their face like Comey? And by the way, and Letitia James, like, I want you to just objectively, okay? Just stand back, objectively. You have the former head of the FBI, who it's now come out, this is irrefutable, framed the President of the United States, this was in 2016, 2017, before he got fired, as an agent of Russia. Lied. Literally framed him as an agent of the Kremlin, knowingly lying. And this guy gets away with it? In fact, he makes millions and millions of dollars off of a book tour? And then when he's called to account to testify in front of Congress about all of his lies and his criminal activities, it really was treason. He wanted to overthrow a democratically elected president, Trump. He lies through his teeth. He lies to Congress. He perjures himself. And you see that slick, oily smile of his yesterday? You're not going to touch me. Nobody's going to touch me. Because you see, like the mob, the judges protect us. And like the mob, if you notice, when mobsters always get off, it's always on some dinky technicality. That's what they did with him yesterday. And Letitia James. Okay, justice delayed, at least for now. The indictments against both Comey and Letitia James have been dismissed by a Democrat hack judge, Clinton appointed. However, there will be an appeal, and Pam Bondi vows to fight on. 617-266-6868. Will Comey and or Letitia ever see a prison cell? That is now the question. And in the end, are the liberal judges who continue to protect these Democrat criminals, are they now part of the swamp as well? And do they have to be drained? I say yes. What say you? It's time we start removing them, getting them off the bench, throwing them off of their perch, as they say. And what is the Senate waiting for? It's time to start confirming U.S. attorney after U.S. attorney. There are at least 25 up to 50 vacancies. And that's a big reason why we are not able to put so many of these deep state criminals in jail. 617-266-6868. Dave, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent out in the Pittsburgh area. How are you, my friend? And welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Happy Thanksgiving, buddy.
Happy Thanksgiving. All the best to you and your family, Dave. Dave, what do you make of this? It looks like for now, Letitia James and Comey skate. For now.
Well, here's my take, Jeff. It's up to us, the people. We need to elect conservatives to the Senate and the House. It's as easy as that. Jeff, we can't blame anybody but ourselves. We got to look in the mirror first, Jeff. You know, take a look in the mirror, type, so to speak. And Jeff, even before you go on about Pam Bondi, buddy, she needs to scram. And I'm hearing Ken Paxton out in the desert, like John the Baptist yelling out in the desert to quote the Bible, buddy, since we're in the holy days coming up. All right? And the fact of the matter is, I wouldn't want Pam Bondi as my defense attorney. I get convicted because of her and Harvey. Now, Jeff, I'm not knocking her totally. Maybe she did a great job as Florida Attorney General. But as far as now, Jeff, I think her plate's too full, buddy. It's up to the people to elect conservatives. Period, plain and simple.
Dave, I want to ask you, because the one I really feel sorry for is Lindsay Halligan, the interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. The media is savaging this poor woman. I mean, it is merciless. New York Times, Washington Post, Boston Globe, MS Now, as they've rebranded themselves. This is CNN. The whole bit. They're going on that she's got no talent, she's incompetent, that apparently they say, well, she's an insurance lawyer, she was Trump's personal attorney, she has no experience as a prosecutor, she's the one that bungled this case. They keep going on that she was a former beauty pageant contestant. And I'm looking at all of these criticisms, and honestly, some of it I agree with Sandy. We talked about this before the show. It's pure misogyny. It's pure sexism. Like, the fact that Lindsay Halligan was a former beauty pageant contestant and that a lot of people think she's very attractive, what does this have to do with whether she's a good lawyer or not? I mean, I know people, both men and women, who are both attractive and very smart. What's the problem? Now, and, you know, the fact that whether she has prosecutorial experience, irrelevant. An insurance lawyer, irrelevant. Trump's personal attorney, irrelevant. What matters are the facts of the case, the merits of the case. And on this, she's 1,000% correct. And to be brutally honest with you, Dave, what I admire most about her is that unlike a lot of other male lawyers, she's got the cojones, the guts, the courage. She's not afraid to go after Comey. She's not afraid to go after Letitia James. The woman's got guts. She's got heart. She's not afraid. Yet they're savaging her and attacking her for her looks, for the fact that they claim she has no prosecutorial experience. Who cares? You don't need to have prosecutorial experience. You just need to be a good lawyer. And she's a very good lawyer. But my question to you is this. They're going on that Lindsay Halligan is the one that should be attacked here, that she's the one that blew this case. Do you think that's fair, Dave? And ultimately, does Trump now need to bring his legal team together and say enough is enough to Pam Bondi? Either put up or shut up. In other words, I want these people in jail because they committed crimes. Either you deliver. If you can't, I'm going to get another attorney general. What say you, Dave?
Well, that's what I just said before, Jeff. Pam Bondi needs to quit being on Fox, quit looking all pretty, and do the job. And as far as the media going after this lawyer, Jeff, they're all about pomp and circumstance, Jeff. The media is never about the facts. You know that as well as I do, Jeff. And I don't mean to change the subject, but like these idiot officers in CIA and former military in the House and the Senate coming out and saying that to the military that they should question orders, bro. Jeff, when Mark Kelly gets recalled to active duty and gets court-martialed by Pete Hegseth and the president, his day is going to be woken up to reality, buddy. Okay? And it's all, Jeff, the media is all about BS, fluff, and circumstance. That's all they care about. But when they go after conservatives, Jeff, then they act like they're all serious. You know that as well as I do, bro. It's all it is. It's pomp and circumstance with the media, Jeff.
Dave, have a wonderful, happy Thanksgiving, my friend. As usual, great call. 617-266-6868 is the number. I could play you cut after cut. I don't want to bore you. But I'm like, and by the way, I have to say this. These are liberal commentators. And somehow the fact that Lindsay Halligan was, a beauty pageant contestant and, but Grace thinks she's beautiful, just to give you an example. And so does Sandy, by the way. I mean, it's fine. I'm just saying that a lot of people say, oh, she's very attractive. And I'm like, but they're making fun of her. And I'm like, what happened to the sisterhood? The hypocrisy is unbelievable. So, by the way, I'm not trying to be cruel, but there's a lot of women, on these cable TV cable news TV shows. Yeah, many of them are former models. So it's okay on these liberal cable news networks to have women that are quote unquote attractive. No, that's okay. But if you happen to be Trump's interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, all of a sudden you're an airhead. You're a bimbo. You're a ditz. You're just there because of your looks. I mean, honestly, it's disgusting. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Derek in Brighton. Thanks for holding, Derek, and welcome.
Yeah, how you doing, Jeff?
Hi, Derek.
I like your show as usual.
Thank you, Derek.
I got a kind of another twist on this. Assume the Senate that has confirmed these U.S. attorneys. Assume is an establishment. Didn't you say he was a protege of Mitch the Squish? And
yes. Yep.
They don't, behind the scenes or behind Trump's back, I don't think he wants the swamp to be drained. I think he wants to drag his feet for the next 3 years and just run out the clock. And, because I think behind, him, Susan Collins, that Wachowski woman from Alaska, I forget her name, and many other establishments, they want to keep the swamp filled. They don't want to confirm Trump's picks because they just want the corruption to keep going on, in my opinion.
Oh, Derek, I wish it was your opinion. I'm being serious. I wish, because an opinion can be right or an opinion can be wrong. You're 1,000% correct. What you're saying now is like the sky is blue. You are so factually correct, it's not even funny. Look, it's an open secret. It's been reported everywhere. Senate establishment Republicans, and that's John Thune. McConnell, by the way, is still there. He's not technically retired yet. He's going to wait it out all the way to 2026. So you've got McConnell, you've got Lindsey Graham. I could run down the whole list. They're just waiting Trump out. They refer to him in private as a quote-unquote disease. Like an illness or a sickness. So you just wait out the sickness and eventually it passes. So their goal is to wait Trump out and then knock off J.D. Vance. They do not want Vance to be the presidential nominee for the Republicans in 2028. So they're going to put up Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or Nikki Haley. They're going to find somebody, but it can't be J.D. because J.D. continues Trump. So they're going to do everything in their power. You watch. By the time they're done with J.D., he won't recognize himself, like in the newspapers. He'll I don't know this guy. Jew hater, anti-Semite, racist, sexist, kook, you name it. They'll hit him with everything. But to your original point, look, This is our problem. And it's a very difficult problem. I'll be honest with you. It's almost impossible to solve. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's hard. It's almost impossible. You get elected to Congress, whether it's the House or the Senate. Derek, I'm telling you, it's like a license to print money. First of all, the power is so seductive. You have the power. You wouldn't believe how much power these people have, which the founders never intended. But forget that. You can make hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And people may say, hey, 2 million, 5 million, 20 million, 200 million. After a while, what's the difference? No. I'm talking private jets. I'm talking 3, 4, 5 mansions on different continents. I'm talking you can be in Hawaii, you can be on Nantucket, you can be in the French Riviera. I'm talking homes with personal private servants who wait on you hand and foot. I mean, I could go on and on. So 5 million, 10 million, that doesn't get you that. So to have a beautiful home and a couple of cars and living in comfort and luxury, that's not enough. You can have maids, you can have chauffeurs, you can have drivers. I'm not kidding. You could have your own private masseuse giving you a massage every day. You can have, $15, $20 little quarts of ice cream like Nancy Pelosi has in her $20,000 fridge. So this is the temptation once you get into Washington. All you got to do is go along to get along. And that means the lobbyists run everything. Just do what the lobbyists tell you to do. To put it crudely, just be a whore. Just be a whore. That's it. And, and by the way, most of these people that are elected to Congress really could not, I'm not saying this to be insulting. I'm telling you, I know them. I've met them. You speak to them. They're okay in terms of talent, but there's nothing special. They're usually ordinary lawyers. They're not very successful lawyers. They're ordinary lawyers or very ordinary at their profession who suddenly now can become oligarchs. Literally, oligarchs. And the temptation is just too great. You have a few that are truly people of integrity. They do exist. But you can count them on 2 hands. And what scares them about Donald Trump, and this is what's always scared them, he was already a multi-billionaire by the time he got to Washington. So what are you going to bribe him with? How are you going to control him? What? Offer him another private plane? What? Offer him another mansion? Like, what are you going to go? What can you get? Another Jaguar? Another Lamborghini? In other words, what you have, another yacht? Another boat? What you're offering, he's not interested because he's already got it. He's got every toy imaginable. So they can't control him. That's what makes him so dangerous. And so, look, here's an open and shut case. You've got at least 25 up to 50 U.S. attorneys. Trump gets these picks in, people are going to start to go to jail. You have the manpower now to start arresting, indicting, and putting these Democrat criminals in prison. So what does the Senate do? Sit on their hands. And as you put it, wait out the clock, run out the clock, run out the clock. All they got to run it out to is the midterms. They're convinced Trump's going to lose the midterms. Once he loses the midterms, and the Democrats, all they got to do is take back the House. It's going to be impeachment after impeachment after impeachment. His presidency is going to be effectively stalled and paralyzed. And then all they got to do then is they have one last target, and that's J.D. Vance. And then that's it. To them, they think it's business as usual. We go back. Now, what they don't see, Derek, is that we can't go back because we're broke. Because they've literally run this country into the ground. So they think they can put the genie back in the bottle. They can't. And we, the American people, won't let them. And that's the crisis we're going to head into. But that we're getting ahead of ourselves. So what Trump needs to do is, because he still has a lot of clout, a lot of power, a lot of influence. You got to call John Thune out. You got to take him to the woodshed, call him on the carpet, and say, I got to dink around with interim U.S. attorneys to try to get these deep state criminals in jail. And what do you guys do all day up there? Like, get off your ass and start confirming my people to be U.S. attorneys. The people elected me to drain the swamp. We need to drain the swamp. And the other thing is, they're not filling these judgeships. That's another thing they're not doing. There's so many vacancies. Now, again, the Democrats play the long game. I mean, look at this. They fill every judgeship they possibly can. And then these judges are hacks who just block. That's all they do is block Trump. Block we the people. So that's why, look, I'm being honest, Derek. That's why, brutally honest, as they say, that's why he's taking flack from people within MAGA. And it's because they love him, not because they don't like him. And they're saying, look, we understand there's a world out there. We have interests. We get it. But man, forget the Saudis. Forget the F-35 fighter jets. You've got to start taking care of business at home, because you don't have a party in Congress that really supports you. You have a party in Congress that opposes you. They just do it more on the down low. They just do it more in the shadows. So the more time you spend abroad, the less time you're spending here. And now, and this is a huge wake-up call, Comey's going to skate. If they're not careful, Comey is going to skate. How the hell does this guy skate? Derek, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. I mean, seriously, how does he skate? Here, James Clapper, okay, the DNI, Director of National Intelligence under Obama, gave an interview on This is CNN. He literally admitted in an interview with Anderson Cooper. He said, oh no, on the whole Russiagate thing, that was an order given to me and Comey by Obama in the Oval Office. He told us. No, you're going to say the intelligence says that Trump is an agent of Russia. That's it. Go, disseminate it. But it's not true. Disseminate it. You're going to frame this guy. Go, move. I mean, they're openly admitting they engaged in treason and a coup. And, and Comey, on top of all of this, openly calls for Trump to be murdered and assassinated. And this punk, who's been caught red-handed lying to Congress under oath, is now going to get away on a freaking technicality? Come on, guys, this is getting embarrassing. And I'm sorry, and if this sounds sexist or chauvinistic, then I don't know, call me a sexist. I don't care. You got to have a woman to all the men in his administration? You need a woman who's the only one with the guts to go after Comey, Lindsay Halligan, God bless her? Like all these macho men. I see them all on TV, flapping their mouths up and down. We'll do this, we'll do that. None of you do anything. Because you're all chicken, you know what? You're all chicken crap. You're scared to go up against the swamp because you know how vindictive they can be and how nasty and brutal and savage they can be. But this woman, I don't care what you say about her, she's got the heart, she's got the spine, she's got the balls to say, no, you're going to jail. You committed a crime. you're going to go to jail. Todd Blanche doesn't have that kind of guts. Kash Patel doesn't have that kind of guts. A big mouth, blowhard, Dan Bongino doesn't have that kind of guts. So, I'm sorry, man. I got to call it the way I see it. 617-2... Seriously, you want a good replacement for Pam Bondi? I like Ken Paxton a lot, okay, from Texas, the Attorney General. Love him. Love him. He's a pit bull. Lindsay Halligan. You want someone with balls? Bring in Lindsay Halligan. No. You're not going to be interim U.S. attorney where they can block you. You're going to be the new AG. Go get him. 617. I'll tell you this. You hardly ever see her on TV. How many times have you seen Lindsay Halligan do an interview on Fox or Newsmax or anywhere? She's doing her job. 617-266-6868 is the number. Agree, disagree. Mike, how much time left? Okay, let me quickly reset, and then I'm going to take all of your calls. I promise. Comey and Letitia James, for now, cases have been dismissed by another hack Democrat judge. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, you want to see what a joke of a media we have? I mean, I know all of you know this already, but they just keep, beclowning themselves more and more and more. So here is just a small montage. I could go on for hours. I'm just going to give it to you in 20 seconds. This is CNN and MS Now celebrating the dismissal of the indictments against both James Comey and Letitia James. Roll cut 7, Mike.
There were so many different issues with these prosecutions. It was kind of a question of which one was really going to be the one to get in the way.
The cases have now been dismissed and probably delivered a humiliating defeat to the Trump administration.
No doubt this is a huge defeat for the Trump administration at this point.
This is a significant ruling, and some will see it as a victory for the rule of law.
And it just went on and on and on and on. It was a technical ruling that, by the way, again, none of these people can defend what Comey said or did. None of these people can defend what Letitia James said or did. So notice, no one wants to talk about the merits of the case. It's just anything is somehow a blow against Trump. And that's how they roll. This is all pure propaganda. That's what you're getting now from the media. Now, hopefully, they can get their ducks in a row and repeal this because Comey deserves to be behind bars. And Letitia James deserves to be behind bars. And I got to say, one last thing. Both of them love to play these little technical games to go after people. Remember, it was Comey that gave the order to take down General Michael Flynn and get him on some technicality about false statements. Even though the FBI personnel that were interviewing General Flynn said he never lied to us. They both of them, the two agents said in writing, but he never lied to us. Doesn't matter. Get him on a technicality. Same thing with Letitia James. She went after Trump on technicality after technicality after technicality. So, believe me, these two people deserve to go to jail. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. Jeff in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, how are you again? Happy Thanksgiving. I got a couple
Thanksgiving. All the best to you and your family, Jeff.
You as well, my friend. I have a couple things, actually. So the thing the media is not talking about, suspiciously enough, is that Letitia James claimed income on this property, which, by the way, was a five-family she claimed as a four-family because of the interest rates thrown at commercial property, which would have been a lot higher. But never mind that. She claimed income in 21, zero income in 22, 23, and 24. That should be a serious tax problem for any other American in the United States. It would be a big deal. Second of all, James Comey, the guy is a snake oil salesman. Is he going to go to jail? He had best, because quite frankly, I'm done following the rule of law with these clowns. And they've shown wholeheartedly that apparently people are above the law. And quite frankly, the American people should be sick and tired of it. And I've said it before, it's time we, the American people, stop going to work, stop sending money into the Treasury, and we figure out how a $38 trillion in debt country pays its bills on Friday. It's the only way to end this at this point.
Jeff,
without violence.
I got to ask you, and by the way, you're on fire. You're right. Letitia James didn't just commit mortgage fraud; she committed tax fraud. I mean, they can put her behind bars for 25 years if they want. You're completely right. But just to your point about Comey, what are Republicans so afraid of? No, really, Jeff, honestly. Like, what? Why is it? Here, look, just stand back. Whatever you think of her, and I can't stand her, I'm with you, Jeff. But you've got this low-life, rinky-dink New York Attorney General. That's what Letitia James was, or is. And she almost brought down the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. I know he was a former president at the time, but she almost got him behind bars and almost bankrupted him and his entire financial empire. So you got this low-life, low-level apparatchik. That's what she is. Now, I know she was backed by the party. I know she was backed by Biden. I know she was backed by Merrick Garland. I get all that. But my point is, these Democrats, they get some no-name loser like Letitia James, and they come within a hair's whisker of putting a former president in prison for 500 years on nothing. And yet, when it comes to Republicans, they're guilty as sin. And they just can't seem to put anybody behind bars. What's your theory, Jeff?
I have a simple theory, and it's the only theory. The fact of the matter is, Republicans are complacent in it, and exactly why they did to Donald Trump what they did to.
Everyone is scared of the deep state. If they can do that to Trump, what can they do to anybody else?
I think you nailed it. No, I think you really nailed it. Jeff, again, happy Thanksgiving. All the best to you and your family. They're petrified of the deep state. I mean, that's why I keep saying they're a bunch of cowards. And that's why I'm sorry, but that's why I'm going to defend Lindsay Halligan. Because you can say whatever you want about her. She's not a coward. In other words, like, is anybody going to go after Comey? She goes, puts her hand up. I'll do it. I'm not afraid. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, lines are blazing. I'm going to go right to the phone lines, I promise. But I just want to read this to you. Please, whatever you're doing, stop. You need to hear this. And the only reason why, you're going to say, well, Jeff, we kind of knew this. But I just want to show, it really highlights, and I really want to show the difference between Republicans and Democrats. So I want you to just think about this. Even when the Democrats don't have the White House, they don't have the House, they don't have the Senate, they don't have the Supreme Court, and they just keep blocking Trump. They're in the minority across the board. And they just keep obstructing and blocking and paralyzing. And now we're slowly going into the second year of Trump's presidency. Chuck U. Schumer. This is when he was the majority leader, right, last year. He does an interview and he openly brags. I believe it was with PBS. So he gives an interview. And he says, no. He said, listen, last year, we installed, his words, 235 progressive judges. We put 235 progressive judges on the bench. And he says, we put them there for one reason, to make sure that if Trump came back to power, they would deliberately rule against Trump, his words, again and again and again. In other words, he's saying, you think we confirm them as fast as you can send them to us? And then we stack them across the judiciary, and we basically make sure that whenever there's an important case, they get, Shazam, look at this. We get a judge, we get our judge on the case, a la James Comey, Letitia James, and blank you, President Trump. And that's how we just keep obstructing him. And he openly brags about it. Now, my point is a simple one. How come we can't put 235 MAGA judges? How come we can't put 235 conservative judges? Okay, forget 235 MAGA judges. That's too much. How about 25 to 50 MAGA U.S. attorneys? Conservative U.S. attorneys. We can't do that? And the ultimate problem is because Thune he's not Chuck Schumer. Thune is not playing for Trump. Thune is playing for the swamp. And that's why we keep getting sabotaged again and again. And I don't want to revisit the Marjorie Taylor Greene issue. We said everything we needed to say on it yesterday. But this was exactly her point. Now, it wasn't about Thune. It was about Mike Johnson. She said, I don't understand. These are her words. She said, I put up bills that I want to make permanent Trump's executive orders. Because an executive order can be rescinded. Boom. The next time there's a Democrat president, it's gone. So she said I wanted to make it into law, codify it into law. And every time I tried, English as an official language, that the census should be based on American citizens and not just anybody and everybody in a district, which would dramatically change the kind of power that the Democrats have. Issue after issue, H-1B visas. She ran down the whole list. Every time I put up a bill, Mike Johnson won't allow it to go to the floor for a vote. We're constantly being sabotaged by leadership. And here we are again. And now, for now, at least, Comey and Letitia James, their indictments were dismissed. Now, hopefully this will be overturned on appeal. But what I'm saying is, come on, man. Like, we got to turn this thing around. The clock is ticking. Agree, disagree. Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. First off, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to you, Sandy, Mike, and all your families.
Thank you. All the best. Happy, blessed Thanksgiving to you and the whole family, Mark.
Thank you, sir. And excuse my voice if it goes in and out. I'm just getting over being sick, so I apologize ahead of time. So what I want to first say is this. You were talking about having the guts earlier, having the balls earlier. Well, you know what? Comey has the balls to go on national television and say, this is why Trump cannot use the DOJ to put away his political opponents. Well, Jeff, if I'm not mistaken, the day Trump came down the escalator in 2015, is that not what they tried to do to him?
Yes.
For what reason?
Because they said he was an agent of Russia.
Right. So, and you used your political, you used the DOJ against Donald Trump, but you're going to go on national TV and say Donald Trump can't do the same thing? Like you always say, Jeff, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Now, what I'm having trouble wrapping my head around is this. You had 2 federal grand juries hand down 2 indictments, one for Comey, one for Letitia James. Now, you can't just hand down an indictment unless you have sufficient evidence to hand down an indictment. But I guess any Democrat district judge can dismiss the indictments. Well, there goes your old theory, Jeff, of you can indict a ham sandwich, because obviously you can't indict a ham sandwich if a Democrat federal judge is involved.
Well, Mark, that's a brilliant point. Absolutely brilliant, because that's what legal experts, I'll play a couple of cuts because we have them and they're very good cuts. But they were like, what is this judge? The judge is Judge Cameron Curry, the Clinton hack that dismissed the indictments, saying, what is this judge smoking? They had every right to bring these charges against Comey and against Letitia James. And the technicality they're arguing is it's unconstitutional. What the judge did was blatantly illegal and unconstitutional. And by the way, the Attorney General fully ratified Lindsay Halligan as the interim U.S. Attorney. So, in other words, I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but literally you had the Attorney General come in and say, as Attorney General of the United States, along with the senior leadership of the Department of Justice, we are letting you know that what Lindsay Halligan is doing has the full support of the DOJ. We stand behind both indictments, and you're right. Both of them were issued by not one, but two grand juries. So again, you have a liberal, leftist, activist judge who is making it up from the bench, who says, no, I have more power than the Attorney General. I have more power than the entire DOJ. I have more power than the President of the United States. And they just keep letting these liberal judges get away basically with murder. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. Mark, I've got to ask you this, because look, you've been calling this show for a long time. You're one of our best callers. You're an incredibly astute observer of politics. You just are. What is it with the Republican psyche? What is it with the Republican DNA? Nobody ever is held accountable when they have power. It's just incredible. Nobody ever goes to jail. Now, why is that? No, really, what is it with Republicans? Why are they so afraid, say, to go up against the Comey or to go up against the Letitia James when the case is so obvious? I got to say, Caroline Leavitt, I thought, really hit it out of the park. She goes, he blatantly lied. Comey lied to Congress. It's so clear. Letitia James committed mortgage fraud. There's no doubt. So why are Republicans so spineless and gutless? What's your theory, Mark?
It's funny. I think great minds think alike here, because my question to you was going to be, since 2015, you mean to tell me that the Republicans could not find one conservative judge to dismiss any of the Trump indictments? So I don't know why they're afraid, Jeff. Maybe because they know it's not the legal thing to do, and they play too much by the book. And you know what? I think sometimes when they do that, Jeff, it burns their ass in the end.
Mark, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Look, it's this country club mentality. Again, I go back to Newt Gingrich, his famous line, Democrats play smash mouth football. Republicans play badminton. Like they're all, badminton, like, they dress in white shirts and, white shorts and white sneakers and, they play badminton. Like, I don't want to hurt you. You don't hurt me. I don't hurt you. We're genteel. We're above it all. We're at a country club. We sip iced tea and, and talk about the weather. And the Democrats are just, we'll smash you in the mouth. We'll do whatever we got to do. Tom in Framingham. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. And
Hi,
it's
Tom.
a good show today. Really good show. But
thank you.
This all goes back, to me, some of this goes back to hacks.
Okay, we're going to go right back to Tom in Framingham. But before I do, it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's quality roofing, siding, and windows. The cases against James Comey and Letitia James were dismissed because of A, an activist judge, or B, DOJ incompetence? So what do you think ultimately is to blame, or who do you think is ultimately to blame for the fact that, at least for now, the indictments against both Comey and Letitia James have been dismissed? Is it because of a liberal activist judge, A, or B, incompetence on the part of Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice? Now, if I was to vote, again, I'm not allowed to vote. I don't vote on these polls. I can't. But by the way, just because I'm the host, don't mind me. But Sandy and Mike insist I can't vote. I'm like, okay, fine. Hey, it's just in theory my show, but let that go. So I don't vote. But if I was to vote, honestly, it's a bit of both. I mean, I think it's really, obviously it's a hack judge. But I got to tell you, man, geez, they weren't brilliant in the way they presented this in front of the grand jury was fine, but in terms of defending Lindsay Halligan's legal constitutional validity to go ahead with these cases, the DOJ on that side was sloppy. There's no question. But in the end, I would vote A. I think, to me, it's clearly more A than B, an activist judge. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in National ER. You can also vote via X. And again, last night, very active on X. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN as in National ER, at the Kuhner Report. Okay, let's go right back to Tom in Framingham. Tom, you were making the point about these hacks and hack judges and what a danger they are. Please pick up where you left off.
It's the hack judges are obvious. There doesn't seem to be any way around that. Well, there is actually. The problem is the Senate. Lindsay Halligan, I guess, is on a 120-day appointment, and she has absolutely no chance of being confirmed as a permanent U.S. attorney in Virginia. And you know why? Because she doesn't pass the blue slip criteria. There's no way that you could get either Mark Warner or Tim Kaine to vote for her. And the problem is that's not a law. That's just some old hack rule. It's actually a cudgel that these hack Republicans use to keep certain people out. And Grassley, who's the head of the Judiciary Committee, he'd vote against her. She wouldn't get the votes. She wouldn't be able to go through judiciary to be appointed.
Tom, why do you think someone like Grassley would? I agree with you, by the way. There's this, just for the audience, Tom, just very quick. The blue slip tradition is a tradition. It's not in the law. It's not in the Constitution. He's right. It's like a hack tradition in the Senate, whereby if you're going to confirm a U.S. attorney, you have to run it by the two senators from that particular state. So in this case, the Eastern District of Virginia, Lindsay Halligan, if she's going to be confirmed, they give a veto to the two Democrat senators, Tim Kaine and Warner. And so that's this tradition. And I think it's a ridiculous tradition. I think it's a corrupt tradition. I would get rid of it, but let that go. Why do you think Grassley would oppose Lindsay Halligan? I agree with you. He would, but just if you can flesh it out a bit, why do you think that? I'm just curious, Tom.
To slow down, not to slow down, but he wants to prevent some of these Trump appointees from getting on there. And the blue slip applies to judges too. This is why you've got some Trump appointees in Massachusetts. I forgot the name of the guy, but making some of these rulings against Trump, because there's no way he'd be able to get anyone through who didn't There's no way he wouldn't be able he'd be able to get anyone through besides the Democratic flap, and that's what some of the Trump appointees are. On the other hand, you look at the other side; they're getting everyone through. You know, say what you want about John Kennedy and his clever remarks and his things. He's not stopping too many of these people, these Biden people, from getting through. Most of them got through. They even made deals to get 4 or 5 district court judges through in the end after Biden was a lame duck after the election. But I think, I also think that there's some, I hate to sound like one of these people, these conspiracy theorists, but I think Grassley and others of these Republicans have their paymasters. Lindsey Graham's another one on the Judiciary Committee who gave Biden just about everyone he appointed.
You're dead on. No, look, Tom, I know Chuck. I mean, I'm not saying I'm friends, obviously, but I know Chuck Grassley. I've met Chuck Grassley. I covered Chuck Grassley when I was at the Washington Times. It's an open secret in Washington. He is in the pocket of the military-industrial complex. And to be more specific, I don't know if she still is, but he and his wife. I mean, this is the corruption. See, people often ask me, well, Jeff, what's the real corruption in Washington? I honestly, in some ways, I almost prefer the old days, like 100, 120 years ago, where they'd walk into a congressman, say a lobbyist, and stuff money in a brown paper bag and go, here. Literally, just throw it on the table. Here it is. Vote my way. Here. Take it. Here. Because at least it's honest. It's corrupt. It's criminal. Don't get me wrong. But okay, it's honest. Here's the money. Vote, and that's it. What they do in Washington now, and this is what they call legal corruption, is the lobbyists go to the member of Congress or the senator and then say, we're going to get your spouse to sit on our board. And we're going to pay your spouse millions and millions, obscene amounts of money. And all they've got to do to check all the boxes, because, if you're just going to give, say, Grassley's wife, I'm just going to make up a figure now, $12 million to sit on your board, well, it's naked graft. I mean, it's pay to play. So what they do is she has to attend, and they do this. I think, 3 times a year or 4 times a year, whatever it is. It's either every 3 months or every 4 months. A board meeting. And so they fly them in first class. You should see the breakfast spread. I'm telling you, beautiful breakfast spread. And they have the board meeting. And Grassley's wife, nothing against the wife, I'm sure she's a great grandmother, but she's knitting. Literally, she's knitting. You see her knitting. The whole board meeting, she's just knitting. And she's there for her compulsory, 2 hours or whatever long a board meeting is. And there you go. And they put her back on a plane, and she's back to Des Moines in Iowa. And the cash just keeps coming in. And it's all through the spouse. Again, the Biden crime family, that was the basic model. None of the money went technically to Joe Biden. It went to everybody but Joe Biden. It went to Hunter. It went to Frankie. It went to Jimmy. It went to the brothers. It went to the sister. It went to the son. They even got the grandkids involved. And, of course, everybody gets a little slice, but in the end, it goes to the big guy. It's the same thing with so many Republicans. It's both. And so Grassley in particular, like Lindsey Graham, is especially, they are, when I say swimming, hell, drowning in big defense contract money, military-industrial complex money. Well, Trump is a guy who's pledged to end foreign wars. Trump is the guy who keeps saying, can we get our troops out of Europe? Can we have other countries pony up more and pay for their defense? Can we start retrenching a little bit around the world? Well, that's not good for business. The thing about him ending all these wars, it's not good for the military-industrial complex. They don't like that. There's less missiles to sell, tanks to sell, artillery to sell, drones to sell. That's not good for them. So they want him out. Or at a minimum, they want him neutered. And that's why you have so many Republicans. That's why I go back to what I said earlier. The amount of money that is swimming in Washington, D.C., the only historical comparison I can have, or that comes to my mind, is the Roman Empire, the late Roman Empire. How Rome was everything. Rome, it was highly centralized. Rome ran a vast empire, and everybody in the Roman Senate was on the take. Everybody around the emperor was on the take because there was just so much money and power. The temptation is just too great. So until we break that, it's almost impossible to break the swamp. The temptation. Now, there are a few, I'm not saying it's hopeless, because there are some few people up there, you can tell. They're not there to make money. They're really there to serve their constituents. But when I say you can count them on two hands, I'm talking 10 in a body of 535. And these people, by the way, are ostracized and hated. And it's always, and by the way, those are the ones that you see the most vicious attacks against in the media. Like, they're the ones, racist, anti-Semitic, whatever. They'll come up with something, sexist. So you always know, like, okay, that person won't take money. Suddenly, and that person then is public enemy number one. So it really is a big club. And the moment you're elected, they tell you, you can go along to get along. And you'll have more money, more benefits, more perks, more luxury, more power than you could ever imagine. Or we are going to turn you into a pariah. And very few people have the character, the intestinal fortitude to stand up to that. So I'm with you. Chuck Grassley is no friend of Donald Trump. And you see it on the judges. You see it on the U.S. attorneys. You see it everywhere. They're blocking Trump wherever they can. Tom, thank you so much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. John in Lowell. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Jeff, how many years has it been since Obamacare?
Oh, it's been a while now. It's been over 15 years, right?
Okay,
15, 14
your memory.
years?
You remember that day that happened and I was driving down Route 3 and I called you and I asked you this question. Has a country ever gotten to this point and made it back to what it's originally supposed to be? And your answer was no. So, Jeff, what have we been doing for the last 15 years? Talking, complaining. Jeff, they're not scared of the deep state. They're complicit. Let's face it, what are we, naive little children? We know what's going on, Jeff. Nothing is going to get done. Anytime they put these cases in front of a civil court, Jeff, I'm starting to think Trump's part of the game because all he has to do is military tribunals. The answer's in front of everybody's face. Yet he's not doing it. This is treason. This is not a joke. People were hung for this years ago. Hung publicly. It's a game, Jeff. And we're the suckers that are playing it. You have hundreds of thousands of people in Italy on the streets. You have almost 1 million, maybe more, in London on the streets. Meanwhile, we're sitting here in our nice little warm houses thinking everything's going to be fine. Well, it's not, Jeff, until we hit the streets in massive, peaceful to the deep state numbers, Jeff. That's it. That's the only way something's going to happen.
Well, John, look, you're making a fascinating point. Let me ask you this. Let's just drill a little bit deeper, my friend. How is it that now, I don't know how many cases it's been, every time the Democrat is indicted, they get a Democrat hack judge? Every single time. Trump is indicted, he gets a Democrat hack judge. It's just incredible. It's 100 out of 100. So my question to you, John, really, is this just the greatest coincidence in the history of the world? Or is our judicial system deliberately rigged? And are the Republicans complicit in the rigging of this system? What say you?
Fill in their pockets, too. Show me one of them up there that's hungry. I want to know what every one of them's worth, Jeff. We're being played for fools, and we continue to fall for it. Enough. The whole system's going to be crashed, Jeff. The only way to do it, hit the streets. That's it. Give me another answer, Jeff. What else is going to work? What haven't we done over the last 15 years?
Well, look, honestly, in the past, I would have said vote, right? Vote. But we keep voting, and we keep voting, and we keep voting. And look, that's why, John, again, I don't want to bring it back to Marjorie Taylor Greene, but that's what she said in her farewell video. It was heartbreaking where, especially the first couple lines, where she said, how is it, no matter which party we vote for, no matter how many times we vote, the forgotten American man and the forgotten American woman are always put last? How is it that the same policies endure? It doesn't matter who's in power. And the same interests get wealthier and fatter and fatter and fatter, while we, the American people, continue to get thinner and thinner and thinner. And I remember watching it and listening, and I'm like, that's true. Like, I can't deny that. It's just, we never come first. We don't even come second. We don't even come third. We're always last. We always just get the crumbs off the table. Yet this is supposed to be our government. They're supposed to work for us. A democratic government, I know we're a constitutional republic, I get it, but a democratic government, by theory, is owned by the shareholders. Who are the shareholders? We the people. We own this government, which means, and by the way, that's the way it should be. It's consent of the governed. So their legitimacy flows from the fact that they work for us. Yet, I don't feel like they work for me. You don't feel like they work for you. Let me ask the audience, do you feel like they work for you? Like, you get up and say, no, these are our people. No, they're working for me every single day. I haven't felt that. Doesn't matter, Republican or Democrat. I never feel it. And I think that's the crisis now that we face. People are starting to wake up and they're saying, no, the swamp always wins. Always. John, final word to you, my friend.
Bird, different wings.
John, have a happy, blessed Thanksgiving. God bless you, my friend. Dan in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Taking the call, Jeff. Really good callers today. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving, Dan.
You've made some terrific points, but I feel like I'm not being heard. I feel that the country is not being heard. I feel that the people are basically not in control. We have let the reins go, and the horses are running wild. And now, it's been going on for decades and decades and decades and decades. It's an inverted pyramid where we're all being shaken down and all the riches and at the point of the pyramid, and the rest of us are struggling from day to day. And the only way that I can see is we need to strengthen our team. The Bondies, Kash Patel, it's just like anything. If you can't do it, step aside, let somebody else do it. What the problem is here is that Trump, of course, he's doing a hell of a job. He's paying attention and putting out a lot of fires in the world that really need to be put out, and he's doing great in every way. But you know as well as I do, if they win the midterms, we're back in the crapper. and Trump's going to be indicted another 90 times. So isn't his family, and so isn't everyone that's done anything for him, because it's already repeated itself. We're seeing the same movie over and over again, and the only way to take care of this is you got to go low. And when I mean low, you got to hit these people at the knees. You got to get the judges, the assistant attorney generals, the governors. You have got to basically stop their groundwork and take them out in the lower levels, because let's face it, everything's going into the judges. I mean, you know Comey's at fault. You know Clapper's at fault. We know that these people have committed crimes, but unfortunately they're above the law when all of us have to pay attention to the law, and it gets damn frustrating as an individual and as a citizen to watch that what goes on with me every day doesn't go on with them, because they're privileged. And I'm getting pretty goddamn...
Well, Dan, please hang on. I want you to finish your thought. And I understand you're upset, because honestly, everybody is. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to go back to Dan. He's on fire. But just very quickly, an exclamation point to what I was saying before we went to the break. When I listen to Dan, I swear I feel like I'm back in August, back in the old country, as they say, my parents' ancestral homeland. I'm visiting my aunt. I have my first cousins around me at the table. And it's like, oh my God, it's like, except Dan is saying it in English and they're telling me this in Croatian. Where they're saying, no, for us ordinary citizens, it's the law, the law, the law. They hammer you with it. But for them, the party officials, they're all immune. They never go to jail. It doesn't matter how outrageous the crime is. They just, it's impunity. It's pure impunity. And so I'm like, my God, it's like I'm back in Eastern Europe, like Central Eastern Europe, former communist bloc. I like, my God, is that what we're turning into? Now, just very quickly, because this really plays off of what Dan was saying. This Clinton judge that made this decision, I want to read to you a really brilliant text that I got, 703. You can text the Kuhner Man, 70470. Jeff, the Clinton judge has made a decision that has never been made before in modern criminal history to save the disgraced former FBI Director Comey and the disgraced Attorney General of New York, Letitia James. The idea that these cases had to be thrown out because the prosecutor, in this case the interim U.S. attorney, was quote-unquote improperly appointed is nonsense. Interim U.S. attorneys are appointed this way all the time across Republican and Democratic administrations. And courts have consistently upheld their authority under the de facto officer doctrine. Even if someone's paperwork isn't perfect, their official acts remain valid. That's why no other indictments Halligan touched were tossed. This judge ignored a century of precedent, bypassed the normal standard, and used the most technical, least substantive loophole possible, because ruling on the actual evidence would have been far more damaging to Comey and Letitia James. If the prosecutor truly lacked authority, then all her cases should collapse, every single one of them. But they didn't. Only these two did. That tells you everything. Let's go right back to Dan in New Hampshire. Dan, we have a two-tier justice system. It is very obvious. One for you, me, all of us, and another for the apparatchiks and the ruling class. and James Comey and Letitia James happen to be part of the ruling class. Please pick up where you left off, Dan.
Yes, and what happens when, you have years and years and years of indictments against Trump, putting his close associates in jail. The country sees this. The Democrats see this. They look at it and say, wow, we're really in power. We've got them right by the canuches. We have them. And what happens, they become more and more emboldened to break the law and to make these crazy decisions. And quite honestly, without regard to any of us, if they can do it to the president and the president's men, what the hell are we? And it scares the hell out of all the staff that does remain around Trump, because they just saw what happens previously to the ones that stand up for him. So what needs to happen is that come hell to high water, these people must pay. They must pay for the crimes, because it emboldens the other side so much to do wrong that they just steamroll over everything else. And quite honestly, they're going to put us right back into a situation that we just came from, where it was total transformation of America and, heading into all of these wars, losing our currency, losing our borders. With all this craziness, these people are hanging on to power, splitting the country with all of their crazy decisions and what they say. And who's the left hold the bag when the bottom falls out? All of us. Because basically half the politicians in this country don't give a crap about us.
Dan, I wish it was only half. You're right. The only thing everything you said is spot on. I'd say it's a lot more than half. And I think that's our problem. Dan, again, I want to wish you and your family a very happy, blessed Thanksgiving. No, look, a good friend of mine, Rick, texted me earlier, and he said, Jeff, just look at all the corruption at the local level. Never mind, never mind the governor, never mind the, Congress, never mind all of that. Just local corruption. Your mayor, your local city council. And he's right. You can do 4-hour shows in town after town, city, especially in Massachusetts, but in many states. So political corruption is a massive problem. I'm going to read to you another text on the other side of the break. And I want to ask all of you whether you agree or disagree. And let me ask you right now, Comey and Letitia James, their indictments have now been tossed on a technicality. Will we ever see justice? All of your calls next. 617-266-6868 if you want to be part of the show. I'm telling you, the callers today are on fire. And the text line, you are killing it on the text line, 70470-70470. I know, I always say it, but it's true. I don't know what else to tell you. Best audience in the business. Okay, this is from 617. Please listen to this, because boy, it's 617 just absolutely nails it. Jeff, what makes this ruling from that Clinton judge even more outrageous is that the judge, and this is completely true, is that the judge didn't dispute a single piece of evidence. Not Comey's admitted memo leaks. If you remember, he kept leaking. And he lied that he leaked. I mean, I'm just saying how they, he perjured himself again and again and again. So anyway, not Comey's admitted memo leaks, not the Inspector General's criminal referral, not the documented contradictions in Letitia James's mortgage fraud filings. The judge didn't touch the facts because the facts were solid. Instead, the Clinton hack judge sidestepped the facts entirely to declare that the prosecutor's internal DOJ appointment wasn't tidy enough. That's not justice. That's a judicial escape hatch designed to protect two powerful political actors without having to publicly address what they actually did. No citizen in America would get their charges wiped out over a paperwork technicality. But for Comey and Letitia James, suddenly the rules change. And here's the kicker. What is the remedy for this, elected Republicans? And 617, my only critique of an otherwise incredible, brilliant analysis is that you assume that elected Republicans care. Trump cares. Lindsey Halligan cares. J.D. Vance cares. That I can guarantee you. You know, Marjorie Taylor Greene at least used to care. Now she's resigning, so no longer. I'm not saying there aren't a few people that don't care, of course. But for the most part, in Congress, they don't care. That's the problem. So they don't care about a remedy for this. Now, very quickly, okay, super quick, because I want to go to the phone lines. This is former Trump impeachment lawyer, David Shonin, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. If I mangle it, I apologize. And he makes a very good point. He goes on Fox after this outrageous dismissal by Judge Curry. And he says, yeah, the DOJ was a little sloppy, yes. Because Lindsey Halligan was an interim U.S. attorney, they should have had someone from the DOJ there in the room when the indictments were handed down. But my God, it's super technical. Notice he says, nothing on the merits of the case and nothing justifies dismissing the cases. Okay, you just say refile. That's all you say. You don't let some paperwork technicality get two people who are clearly guilty off. Roll cut 8, a mic.
It was avoidable because, quite frankly, the Justice Department should have just put somebody in the room with Lindsey Halligan. It would have taken away all of the arguments for dismissal, quite frankly, based on all the decisions around the country. I still don't think the decision is right, but it was avoidable in that sense. I give Lindsey Halligan great credit, and she showed great courage here. She looked at the facts and the evidence. She saw that there was a wrong committed, and she got an indictment. She was put in this position, and she should have had more support than she was given. But it's not a major setback for the Trump administration or anything like that.
No, I listen, look, he said it. She should have been given a lot more support. Again, it was not one, 2 grand juries issued indictment. 2 indictments came from 2 grand juries. You're just going to nullify that based on some ridiculous technicality? Now, again, listen to former Trump impeachment lawyer Shonin saying, look, the decision was wrong. The judge's decision was clearly wrong, and here's why. Roll cut 8A, Mike.
There's some pretty esteemed scholars, Steve Calabrese, Paul Cassell, who have explained why the courts just have it wrong with this. Professor Calabrese says this section of the law, 546, is unconstitutional. It invades the executive power. And he cites a couple of recent cases that talk about the exclusive executive power, and here to appoint a representative of the executive branch. Cassell says it's constitutional, but that the president has the right to appoint successive interim U.S. attorneys, or in this case, she could act as acting U.S. attorney. We see in the case in California with Bilal Asaili that he continued to go on as first assistant. So, again, I give great credit to Ms. Halligan.
Now, look, this is something that says inside baseball. Honestly, I don't even know some of these names. You know, there's this guy in California, this guy in Montana. The point being that in successive Republican, Democrat administrations, this has never been a problem. For 100 years, it's never been a problem. You have interim U.S. attorneys, acting interim U.S. attorneys. It's never been a problem. Until now. Until now. One more cut. I want to go to the phone lines. Listen to Shonin again. And I think this is the coup de grace argument, as the French would say. He said, notice, the judge never addresses the evidence, never addresses the merits of the case. Because if she did, it's all over for Comey and it's all over for Letitia. Roll cut 8B, a mic.
But the other point I would make here is this. These are public figures. First of all, the hypocrisy of the argument now, given the position these folks took with Jack Smith. But in any event, putting that aside, these are public figures. Why not deal with these cases on the merits? They're going to have to sooner or later because they will be reindicted. And if you read the Ms. James indictment carefully, and of course everyone's entitled to the presumption of innocence, if you read it carefully, they have her coming and going if they can prove the allegations in the indictment. First, she claimed a secondary home, which means she has to have certain personal use days, 14 days a year. But in her tax schedule, according to the indictment at least, she said 0 personal days in the home. I would ask questions like, did she have an insurance policy? What did she put on her application? Did she make a claim? What was her capacity there? I think that case is going to be a slam dunk, quite frankly.
Oh, they got her. Look, they got her 6 ways to Sunday. And they got Comey 6 ways to Sunday. And by the way, the judge knows that. This Judge Curry, this hack. No, everybody knows it. The media that's celebrating, everybody knows. Guilty, guilty, guilty. It's like OJ. But how do you get him off? You get him off on a technicality. And so, we'll see what happens. Let's go to Chris in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Chris, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Great show. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
It seems like it's a pessimistic day on the show.
Yeah, I mean, these things are very depressing. But honestly, I think Halligan's got the guts. Halligan's got the guts to continue. Trump wants this to continue. I think they're going to re-indict. And I think eventually they're both going to go down. My honest opinion, I think they're taking a premature victory lap. But that's me. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I just hope so. I think for the past 40 years, we've been hiding behind the blanket of freedom, these bad actors, rhinos, the Dems, trying to bring us to, a bad socialist place, which we don't want. We don't want to be like Europe, and we are a republic. Our founding fathers have seen, if they've seen it, our government's gotten so big, small, to so much we can't control anymore. We get Trump in office and looking for JD to take over, but if we can't continue that, what do? I mean, we need the warriors. I think the internal enemy is within. We've seen that, and what do? I hope.
Well, hopefully we're going to prevail. And look, I know Trump is very angry. I can tell you this. I mean, I gotta ask. I'm just curious because they keep running these commercials. iHeartMedia. Guaranteed human. I'm like, is somebody up there thinking, this is how we get rid of the Kuhner man. Replace him with artificial intelligence. Huh? Okay, 849 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Unbelievably, shockingly, but here we are. The indictments, at least for now, have been dismissed against both James Comey and Letitia James. The DOJ is immediately appealing. My question to you, will either one of them ever be held accountable? Will either of them ever go to jail? 617-266-6868. Nick in Weymouth. Thanks for holding, Nick, and welcome.
Jeff, there's something called the Federal Vacancies Reform Act of 1998, which gives the president ultimate power to appoint anybody he wants but he has to do it in a specific way. In this particular case, since Halligan was not part of the DOJ, all he had to do was scour the United States for every U.S. attorney he has appointed and temporarily take them out of that position because they have been appointed and approved by the Senate already and put him or her in that position. That's all they have to do. And oh, by the way, I thought at this point, and I just checked it out, you would think at this point, and the reason you have this Vacancies Reform Act, and here's one of the reasons, Clinton signed it, by the way, was because it takes a long time for one party to get the other party to vote for all their appointments. So as we speak, and I cannot find the number, but I'll give you Alabama, for instance, the current U.S. attorney in a red state happens to be appointed by Joe Biden. He's still sitting there. So somebody's got to get moving, and once you get that majority, you have no problem. So he can actually put someone in there right now. He doesn't need a position the permission of the Senate because the person he will pick has already been approved by the Senate, say from Arizona, whatever. I don't know what the big fuss is. But how about, oh, by the way, let's do some catch-up and make sure that all 50 states have U.S. attorneys. I question what is even happening here in Boston, Massachusetts, by the way, and Worcester, et cetera, because I've seen some local crimes here where the U.S. attorneys just seem to be looking the other way. Thank you, Jeff.
Oh, thank you, Nick. Very well said. Oh, no, look, there's no question. You got a lot of crooked U.S. attorneys. A lot of it is political. And especially here in the Northeast, in New England, and in Mass in particular, in Boston, and you mentioned Worcester, they got to toe the Democratic line. So there's a lot of crimes they know that they should and can prosecute. They just won't do it because they don't want to offend the Democratic establishment. You look at the modern Democratic Party, and I'm telling you, it's resembling more and more like a mafia. And, like these mob bosses, remember, when the mob was really powerful in this country, they would always get off on some ridiculous technicality because the judge was in their pocket. So everybody knew, Al Capone. I mean, everybody knew the guy was a racketeer, an embezzler, a bootlegger, a murderer, but, eventually they got him on taxes. But I'm just saying, he would get off again and again and again. Well, that's how it is with these Democrats. They've got their judges, and, man, they love their judges because all they do is shield and protect them. Chris in Florida. Thanks for holding, Chris, and welcome.
I got a couple of complaints. One is that the callers calling in, everybody sounds like a defeatist. Oh, if we don't win the midterms, blah, blah, blah. And I'm tired of people thinking that we're all cowards out here. I'm a Vietnam vet. I probably, over the last few years, I probably turned on, 2,000 or 3,000 vets to listen to your show. I'm proactive. None of us are cowards. And guess what? Neither is Trump. Most people don't know it. They don't know history. Most Americans don't know history. You don't know history. George Santayana, circa 1894, said those who cannot remember history are condemned to repeat it. Long story short, Trump went to military school. Most people don't know that. He was going to go to West Point, but they wanted a bribe from his wealthy dad, so he went to the military academy down the street, so to speak. The same neighborhood. Anyway, do you really think Trump, hypothetically speaking, well, let's say we're not going to win the midterms. They know this early. Well, let's just hypothetically say that. Do you think that Trump, knowing that they're playing the numbers, that eventually they'll get a jury to put him in jail or charge him with treason and put him on death row and family members as well? Do you think he's a coward and he's going to sit back and let that happen?
No, quite the opposite. No, look, Chris, and by the way, you're on fire, Chris. Look, I agree with you. No, I don't think we should give up the country. I'm not saying we should. Absolutely not. Quite the opposite. No, look, to me, this is what changed everything. What changed everything was it happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. And I'll tell you why. Because the entire world saw a man take a bullet, literally miss his brain by a millimeter, by the hand of God. He was saved by, I don't care what anybody says, he was saved by God on that day. To me, period, full stop. And with blood gushing down his cheek, and he had no idea, he saw the blood, he knew he was hit, he had no idea. It could have been his neck, could have been, he had no idea. It's the adrenaline is going, and what was his response? Fight, fight, fight. And so what the deep state and the Democrats, and frankly the world saw, was here's a man who's willing to literally take a bullet for his country. And he's not afraid to die. So he's not going to take the midterms lying down. He's not going to, wave the white flag of surrender. I think, look, Chris, in fact, I know this. They are convinced that the economy is going to boom next year. I mean, really take off. And they've put all the pieces in place. And so when the economy really kicks in, the dissatisfaction, the grumbling that you're hearing from many of Trump's supporters, they say, look, it's all going to go away. And we're going to go into the midterms like gangbusters. So Trump is still very confident that they're going to win the midterms and he's going to continue with a full term. All I'm saying, Chris, is this. We have to understand that the Democrats now are literally going politically for Trump's jugular. They've tried everything. They tried 2 assassinations. They have now run a government shutdown. That failed. Now they're literally urging the military to defy orders from Trump. They're calling on the deep state to rebel against Trump. I think they're going to try to steal the midterms next year. I'm convinced of it. So they're attacking ICE. They are preventing them from deporting illegals. They're basically on the verge of an insurrection in city after city. So Trump understands that this is a key watershed moment in American history. And the next couple years, I believe, will decide the destiny of this country. And the one thing I'm very happy about is that we had an Achilles heel in his first term, and that was Pence. That Judas kept sabotaging Trump at every turn. Now we've got J.D. Vance, and he's got Trump's back 1,000%. And so I think it's a formidable team. I think it's almost an unbeatable team. But, I mean, I got to tell you, Chris, in all honesty, he's got to get rid of Pam Bondi. I think he's got a great cabinet. I've said it before. I don't want to keep listing all the names. Hegseth is great as Secretary of War. I think Rubio is doing a very good job as Secretary of State. I don't think you can get a better vice president than J.D. Vance. RFK is great at HHS. Scott Bessent is a phenomenal Treasury Secretary. He's got a world-class cabinet. But he's got an Achilles heel. And you as a vet know this better than anybody. Better than me, that's for sure. You're only as good as your weakest link. And I think his weakest link, to be candid, is Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino. And that's where the Democrats know this, and that's where they're attacking. And look, for now anyway, Comey and Letitia James are getting away with it. And to me, it's disgusting. What Comey did to Trump and to this country was unforgivable. What Letitia James to Trump and to this country, unforgivable. And I'm sorry. Things are not going to get better on that front. It's like, Chris, military analogy. You got a bad general. You got a great army. You got a great commander-in-chief, but you got a bad general. What do, Chris? You get rid of the general. You replace him with another general. He's got to replace those 3. Chris, agree, disagree, final word to you.
Have you contacted him?
Chris, I don't want to lie to you. I can't tell you I can't answer that question because they asked me to keep everything private, confidential. Let me just tell you this. They know where I stand on this, and they listen to this show, and they know where the audience stands on this. So that's the farthest I can go. So honestly, Chris, you got something to say? Go, because they're listening.
I'm glad to know that. Bottom line is you're absolutely right. I've been bitching about Pam Bondi to him, tagging him in X.com, Twitter, former Twitter, and Facebook. You can also tag people on Facebook. I also tag you with my posts as well. I'm going to tell Sandy to get in touch with you and tell you my X user handle, because I don't use my name. Long story short is that civil war started in this country. You're a historian. You know that. Our last civil war, that was April 12th, 1861, was the final start of the final phase. Everybody thinks that it's 1861. Oh, the day before April 12th, everything was peaceful and happy, and then April 12th, we had a full-blown war. That's not how civil wars work, and you know it. Our civil war started in 1855 after the Republican Party was created to stop the Democrats from owning humans. Same thing here. Started in 2015, and the violence and the legal fear, whatever you want to call it, going after Trump has been ramping up ever since that. The final phase is about to happen. There's no denying it. This is history. It's not me. It's history. The long story short is Trump will not allow his family to be attacked. And the bottom line is that the only way this can be stopped now is civil war or martial law, period. No other alternatives.
Chris, I want to thank you for your service and have a happy, blessed Thanksgiving. God bless you, Chris. Well, look, Trump doesn't want it to come to that, obviously. He doesn't want a civil war. No president does. And obviously he doesn't want to impose martial law. So he's going to exhaust every possible option. And that's why you see him now. He's given the orders. He told Pam Bondi, appeal right now. I want you to appeal this. They have no grounds to stand on. On ICE, double, triple down. I want these illegals gone. We're going to break these insurrectionist mayors. We're going to break these insurrectionist governors. So Trump is fighting on every front. Now, what I can just tell you is this. We have an ace in our hole. And I don't want people to forget that. It's a big ace. Okay? We are now an 80-20 nation. The difference between now and the Civil War, or whatever, 1861, is that really the country was split. It was really split. I don't want to say 50-50, but man, it was split. Because it wasn't just the South versus the North. You had many people in the North. I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but they were saying, let the South go. Like, if they want to own other human beings, we're done. We're constantly arguing about slavery. It's going on decade after decade, year after year. We're always at each other's throats. Let them go. They want to go. So Lincoln had a problem. He wasn't just battling the South. He was battling the so-called anti-war movement, especially in cities like New York. There were riots. There were literally anti-war riots in New York City. So he was battling, in some ways, parts of a public opinion in the North, if you want to say behind enemy lines, right? So in other words, he's battling, his people who are saying, let him go. We don't want to support this war. And he's fighting the South. So the country was really split. And that's why the South came very close to seceding. First couple of years of the war, the South is winning the war. That's the importance of Gettysburg. For the first 2 years of the war, the South is winning the war. The Europeans were expecting to formally recognize the Southern Confederacy. And America, as we know it, would have been finished. We have no idea how close we came to losing our country. What's different this time, this is not a 50-50 country. It used to be, not anymore. This is now an 80-20 country. I don't care what issue. Name me the issue. It's 80 MAGA, 20 crazy Democrat. Now, that's a very potent weapon. 80-20 is 4 out of 5. So this is why the Democrats have to get more extreme, more fanatical, more rabid, more militant, more insurrectionist, because you're like a fanatical minority. You don't have popular support. Nobody wants open borders. Nobody wants sanctuary cities. Nobody wants our country flooded and invaded with illegal aliens. Nobody wants transgenderism. Nobody wants women in men's sports or men in women's sports or men in women's locker rooms. I could go down the whole list. Nobody wants any more of these endless wars. Nobody wants censorship. Everything the left is pushing, it's 80-20, even 85-15. That's why they need judges. That's why they need BS shutdowns. And that's why they need this. Because this is now heating up again. Roll cut 100, Mike.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
Like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
This is treason. What you just heard now, I know I've played it a few times already. This is the seditious six. This is a naked insurrection. This is sedition. It's naked sedition. It's an 80-20, 85-15 issue. And Secretary of War, this news broke yesterday, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth formally came out and said, we are now investigating Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona on the grounds that he violated his oath and that because remember, Alyssa Slotkin, the other senator involved in this, there's 2 senators, 4 members of Congress. Alyssa Slotkin is former CIA. The other 4 members of Congress are no longer in the military. So Hegseth can't go after them. Doesn't have jurisdiction. But he can definitely go after Kelly. Senator Kelly is Navy. He even gives his rank in the video. He's retired. So he still falls under military jurisdiction. And Pete Hegseth has come out and said he's literally subverting the chain of command. He is calling now for people in the military to openly defy their commander-in-chief, to defy the chain of command, and to defy any lawful order from the President of the United States. And that, my friends, is sedition. And President Trump now has not only doubled, he's tripled down. He has publicly now said, I don't care what the media says, I don't care what the Democrats say, this video is pure treason. And all 6 of them need to go to jail. And they're starting now. There's a huge investigation. Pete Hegseth is now opening a probe into Kelly. And he says he's going to, they're going to now see if they can take this to a military tribunal and have Senator Kelly indicted and charged on sedition. It's about time. It's about time. And let me go even one step further. I'm telling you, This is not just them looking to subvert the chain of command and have the military and the deep state, the CIA, turn on Trump. What they're actively calling for is for the so-called resistance in the military and in the bureaucracy, in the CIA and in the deep state, to literally now take a stand against Trump. Don't follow any of his orders. Sabotage him, subvert him, undermine him, paralyze him, neuter him. He says bombs, say, these ships coming from Venezuela, these drug smuggling ships, don't do it. Spy on him. The CIA, do what you have to do. ICE agents, do not follow orders from the president and detain and arrest illegal aliens. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Secretary of State Pete Hegseth yesterday publicly announced there is now an investigation, in fact, a very serious probe into Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat, Arizona, for his role in that disgusting video calling for members of the military to defy so-called illegal orders from Trump. Now, very quickly, Senator Elisa Slotkin, the other Democrat that was involved in the Seditious Six, was asked point blank, okay, can you tell us one unlawful or illegal order that Trump has now asked the military to do? Can you just name me one? Any order that Trump has issued that, according to you, is illegal or unlawful? Listen now to her response. Roll cut 13, a mic.
Do you believe President Trump has issued any illegal orders?
To my knowledge, I am not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes and everything related to Venezuela. And I think that's why...
And be specific about that. Let me read you what Senator Lindsey Graham said about your video. You owe it to the men and women in the military to be specific about what you are talking about. What these senators and House members did was unnerving, and it was unconscionable to suggest that the President of the United States is issuing unlawful orders without giving an example.
So for me, my primary concern is the use of U.S. military on American shores, in our cities and in our streets. We've seen now the courts overturn the deployment of U.S. military into our streets, including here in Washington, D.C. When you look at these videos coming out of places like Chicago, it makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians.
Okay, by the way, what court said that Trump couldn't send the military into Washington, D.C.? Like, what planet is she living on? So now it's, well, maybe somebody will see the military and they'll be stressed and they'll shoot on the military and the military will shoot them back. Well, this is woulda, shoulda, coulda. You're getting into speculation. This may happen, this may happen, this may happen. What is Trump doing that for you is an illegal order that must be defied? She can't answer the question because he's not issuing an illegal order, and they know that. Now, listen to this clown, Kelly, and he is a clown. I know he served our country and I love our vets, but I'm sorry, this guy, he doesn't play with a full deck. Let's just put it that way, okay? Here's Kelly. Now he's like, I won't be intimidated by this investigation from the Department of Defense. If I were you, I'd be very worried because I'm telling you, that video is insurrection. That video is sedition. You are asking members of the military, by the way, an idiot like him, as you give your rank in that video, to defy the commander-in-chief? To defy a direct order from your superior? Roll cut 11, Mike.
Let me first just get your response to this threat from the Defense Department saying that they are investigating you. They may potentially recall you to active duty to face a court-martial.
Well, Rachel, I said something that was pretty simple and non-controversial, and that was that members of the military should follow the law. And in response to that, Donald Trump said, I should be executed. I should be hanged. I should be prosecuted. He even went on and said something about go get them. I guess sending a mob to round me and the other folks up. So this is, I think it says a lot more about him than it says about me. He doesn't want accountability. But, Rachel, I'm not going to be silenced. I'm not going to be intimidated.
Right. Listen, he's scared, and he should be scared. And by the way, when Trump said, go get him, this is what I mean. He's such a liar. He's such a disgusting little weasel. Seriously. By the way, I don't want to be cruel, but when you just even look at him, doesn't he look like, what is it, from the Austin Powers movie? What is it, Dr. No? You know, the bald-headed guy with the pointy ears. I swear, he looks like was it Dr. Evil, right? Yeah, he looks like Dr. Evil from the Austin Powers movies. He looks like a caricature of a villain in a Hollywood film. He looks like Dr. Evil. So when Trump said, go get him, he wasn't directing a mob. He was telling his Department of Justice and Pete Hegseth, hey, guys, did you see the video? It's obvious insurrection. It's an obvious sedition. Like, what are you, come on, get off your rear end. Go after him. Investigate. So, to be investigated now is calling for the mob? Is this now the new Democratic talking point? This is how ridiculous you people are? So what? You're so untouchable that we can't even, investigate you when you commit an obvious crime? And yes, look up the Military Code of Justice. If you are court-martialed, if you're recalled to the military and placed on active duty, and then you go in front of a tribunal to face charges of insurrection and sedition, which is what you did, buddy, then I'm sorry to tell you this, the possible penalty is death. Most likely it's not going to happen. You may get 10, 15, 20 years in jail or whatever, in the brig, as they say. But he's not calling for you to be hanged from a tree. You phony, you fraud, you. So, no, you called for the military to turn on the president. You called for a naked, open insurrection. And now you're upset that you're being held accountable? Court-martial him, make an example out of him. Enough is enough. Agree, disagree. You can text the Kuhner Man, 70470, 70470. Text line on fire, 971. Jeff, Mark Kelly stepped in a huge pile of horse dung. And he knows it. But just like all Democrats, rather than admit guilt or apologize, they double down. 508, Jeff. I think Mark Kelly resembles the character Sloth in the movie The Goonies more than he resembles Dr. Evil. I've never seen Goonies, so I can't comment on that, 508. One more, and then I want to go to Arthur in Chestnut Hill. This is from 781. Jeff, you are an historian. When they finally wrangled Benedict Arnold in, what were his arguments? Did he sound like Mark Kelly? Was he trying to defend his actions? Bingo. He sounded just like Mark Kelly. Arthur in Chestnut Hill. Thanks for holding, Arthur, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. I really don't even know where to begin, to be honest with you. I mean...
It's a buffet today, Arthur.
I've got 4 pages of things that I want to tell you. First of all, you only have an investigation when you have to find out if a crime has been committed and who committed the crime. So that's a waste of time. They already committed the crime when they went on and did that without following orders. That's a disgrace. They don't have to get court-martialed. They should be arrested for treason, but nobody gets arrested for treason. Nobody gets arrested at all. All they do is send referrals, and nothing happens to anybody. The Democratic Party is the greatest organized crime family of all time. And nothing ever happens if you're a made person in the Democratic family. Comey goes around. Not only does he admit his guilt over and over again, he writes books about it. He goes on TV and brags about the crimes he's committed. Biden goes and commits and goes on the video and talks about the bribery and the corruption in the Ukraine, and even implicates Obama. And he's walking around free as a bird. These people have sold us out, and we don't do anything about it. Okay, let me tell you. And Chuck Schumer, before Trump even took office, bragged about the fact that he had appointed 235 progressive judges to turn around and block Trump. That to me smells of conspiracy and obstruct, and not to have justice, but to obstruct justice and to obstruct the executive branch of the government. And he should have been arrested for that. And every one of those judges who turns around and commits an obstruction of justice whenever they make one of these unlawful rulings, they have no right to interfere with the executive department. The Constitution gives that authority to the president. And by the way, federal judge Giacob did say that Trump, another district judge said that Trump didn't have the right to send troops into Washington. Okay. This goes on day after day, and yet nothing is done about it. Why this matter of these judges interfering with Trump in the beginning should have been settled a long time ago. You know what the problem is. You can't just turn around and let them do it over and over again. Let them go to the Supreme Court and fight it. And the Supreme Court should have made a ruling on it a long time ago to block this nonsense. Time and time ago, again, they let people go free, and this country is going down. Is already gone down the tubes. You can't have a happy Thanksgiving. All you can hope for is a safe Thanksgiving. And this country is already in a civil war. Okay, we are not split 80-20. We are split black, white, and the white is split into Democrat, Republican. We're split in Latino, Muslims, transgenders, LBG2. Everybody has their own agenda. And ICE has got their goose cooked. There's only tens of thousands of ICE, but there's millions of illegals. And the numbers don't add up. We need military to turn around and go and get these people. And these people are criminals. And to be blocked from protecting our citizens, even the Latino citizens don't want these people in their community. We have got to get serious about what's going on in this country. Trump should be putting wars, fires here. Never mind across the world. Let them worry about it. We've got so many problems in this country like I've never seen in my life.
I agree. Arthur, again, you're on fire. Really, absolutely on fire. Look, he's got to put America first. I mean, I know he's got issues abroad. I get it. But still, you're dead on. I like the way you phrased it. We've got so many fires here at home. He's got to start focusing much more because the Democrats aren't playing around. I mean, again, look, they just keep getting away with crime after crime after crime. It's unbelievable. Arthur, I want to wish you a very blessed, happy, I know you're not happy, but happy Thanksgiving. And honestly, God bless you. And again, thank you for your service. 617-266-6868. And I forgot to say that to Chris in Florida, my Vietnam vet friend, to you and all the vets, obviously, but especially the Vietnam vets, because you were the most ignored. And to me, that was unforgivable. I want to thank all of you for your service. Okay, super quick. This is now a Democratic senator. This is how a senator now talks and behaves. If you're a Democrat, So, Mark Kelly, senator from Arizona, is under investigation for clear sedition and insurrection. It's treason. There's no question. The video speaks for itself. So, the other senator from Arizona, Ruben Gallego, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, is now upset that this crime syndicate is now being called out and being investigated. So, this is a senator from Arizona. Okay, Kelly's the junior senator. He's Kelly's partner. And Gallego makes a video of himself in the back seat of his car. I swear to you. And he now is responding. Why he's got to do it in the back seat of his car, I don't know. But they think if they keep throwing F-bombs, that, I don't know, that makes them look cool or chic, or it shows, how serious they are, whatever. But this is supposed to be a U.S. senator. And he sounds like some ghetto gangbanger. Listen now to Senator Gallego of Arizona reacting to the fact that Senator Kelly, is now under investigation by the Department of Defense and could potentially be court-martialed. Roll cut 12, a mic.
Hey, this is Ruben Gallego. I'm traveling through Arizona right now, and I just received the news that the Department of Defense is starting investigation against my seatmate, Mark Kelly. This is insane. We should all point out how insane this is. And, these guys are trying to say that they're not acting like fascists, they're not trying to give as much power to this president as a king, and they should stop acting like it. Mark Kelly's a patriot. There's no reason why they're going after him. He was doing his duty and just reminding people about their rights as service members. And, Secretary Hegseth, all these guys, you guys, you're not going to be able to scare us. We have a right to defend the Constitution of the United States. We have a right to tell other service members that they have a right to ignore illegal orders, and you're not going to be able to intimidate us.
F you! F you guys! Hegseth, F you! Trump, F you! F you! I mean, that's what you have? That's what you have. Like, seriously. My 15-year-old son, Ashton, has a cleaner mouth than this guy. I swear, what I'd say to Gallego is, and you eat with that mouth? With that potty, dirty mouth? And you call yourself a freaking senator? And then notice the charade. Oh, they were just reminding people of their oath. It's in the military code of justice, dude. Of course you don't obey unlawful orders. Everybody who's ever served knows that. No, you did the video to make it seem like Trump was issuing illegal orders and you were demanding and asking them to disobey and defy orders from the President of the United States. Now, if you're going to call for an insurrection, at least have the guts to own it, you phony, you fraud, you. Instead, I don't know what Hegseth is doing. I don't know what Trump is doing. F you, F you, F you. Julie in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Julie, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. How are you? Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. All the best to you and your family, Julie.
Thanks a lot. Listen, come to realize it does not matter what President Donald J. Trump thinks, does, or says. They are always going to find a reason, no matter what. As you know, or from Massachusetts, dark blue, blue state, and the government shut down that whole food stamp debacle. You would not believe the amount of people walking around here. Trump this, Trump that. I cannot believe he's doing this to us. The Democrats do not have critical thinking skills. They think the problem is, the military. You don't have to abide, unlawful orders. It's like they're missing the point. The point is there are no unlawful orders that Trump has given. They are making this up in their heads. They have Trump derangement syndrome. It's a real syndrome, and it really should be looked into big time. Maybe they'll find a cure for it someday.
Well, Julie, I'm just curious. The backlash has been massive against the seditious six. Really, I got to tell you, I think they thought they were going to put Trump on the ropes, and it's really boomeranged against them. Do you think someone like Mark Kelly should be, and this is what Hegseth is now looking into, and he's seriously considering it, recall him to the military, in other words, unretire him, and then have him face a court-martial? Do you think Kelly should face a court-martial? I'm just curious.
Absolutely, positively. Look at what they have done to President Trump all these years, trying to make, quote, an example out of him. Well, it's time we do that to one of them. We need to make an example out of someone, out of one of them, that this is not okay. You cannot do this. He is the President of the United States. He knows what he's doing.
What's becoming increasingly clear, Julie, I know we're now, 10 months, almost 11 months into Trump's presidency, is the Democrats refuse to accept the fact that he won. They kept calling us election deniers after Biden and insurrectionists. But it turns out they're the insurrectionists. They're the election deniers. They're the ones who won't accept democracy. And to me, this is what's so obvious. Everything they're calling us, they're guilty of. Final word to you, Julie. Am I wrong?
You're right, Jeff, of course. And it's a word called projection. They try to gaslight us. They are like a narcissistic person. They gaslight. They, they project. They're just, I'm sorry, but they're just delusional, and unfortunately we're coming up on Thanksgiving and, we have some family members, that are left-leaning and, we have to keep our mouths shut because God forbid we say anything about anything. They, again, are the ones that go for the jugular. They just can't be reasonable. Sorry.
Well, Julie, I think the magic word there, the key word is delusional. They really are living in this fantasy world, and it's sad. It's almost like a form of mental illness. It is. It's a mental illness where you're just like, it's an hallucination. It's almost like a psychosis. And they're inventing these phantoms in their head. He's a dictator. He's a Nazi. But then Mamdani goes and pats him on the back and says, Hitler, can you please help me out in New York City? I mean, honestly, it's just after a while, they're either, as you put it, gaslighting us, manipulating us, playing us for fools. They don't believe a word that they say, or they're certifiably insane. I mean, either it's door one or it's door two. Either way, I mean, honestly, it's pathetic. Julie, great call. Let's go to Brian in Weymouth. Brian, I hate to do this to you, my friend. 1 minute. The floor is yours. Go.
Okay. The thing is, I'm a scientist, so I do everything by science. It's pretty simple. To drain a swamp, you have to stop the water from coming in, which is the money, and then get rid of the people. You can't do it the other way, because if you do, all that'll happen is more people will go in and the money will still be there. We need to get rid of that. That is what we need to do. But I don't know how to do it, but hopefully smarter people do.
Brian, what do you think of term limits? I think that'll cut off a lot of the water. What do you think?
I think term limits, and two, the person should be court-martialed. Okay, I was a military scientist. They would have done that to me. I don't think that anyone's above the law, and I think Pete has got the right idea. Make him unretired, and do it in a court system that is not corrupt.
I'm with you. I'm with you all the way. Brian, great way to end the show. Honestly, superb. Thank you for that call. Look, reactivate Kelly, reactivate him in the military, and then put him in front of a military tribunal. And, you don't have hacks there. Believe me. Those are serious, competent, honest judges. And court-martial the guy. And I'm telling you, if they go by the law, Kelly will be found guilty. Now, whether he gets the death penalty or not, that's a different story. But he's going to be found guilty. And believe me, that's going to set an example.